Broncos lost 17-18. And what do I think about that? Good. I'm honestly kind of glad the Broncos lost to the Arizona Cardinals. The Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. We're holding. What the hell is pimento cheese? Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to say that.
See you later. Welcome to episode 79 of Ruffing the Passer, the show that talks football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I'm your host, Sam Ruffing, and in this week's episode, we'll be talking some preseason football and a little bit of golf. So, yeah, let's get on with that. The Denver Broncos played against the Arizona Cardinals in both teams' preseason debuts, and everyone was watching anxiously to see whether and how the Broncos would look under Sean Payton. And I think it's fair to say most were a little stunned and a little shocked and a little scared by the fact that the Broncos lost 17-18. And what do I think about that? Good. I'm honestly kind of glad the Broncos lost to the Arizona Cardinals. Because it's preseason. Who cares? Who gives a rip? It is a meaningless 3 games, like literally 3 exhibition games, that teams can use to find hidden gems on the roster and fine-tune their teams to get ready for the regular season. And so, if the Broncos go out there like they did, and they look a little shaky, that's fine. I'm glad they did this. I'm glad Russ and the offense went out there and didn't look entirely cohesive in the first preseason game. It's not like they went out there like they did last season in the opener against Seattle and looked shaky, which we did not see coming because the Broncos didn't play any preseason games last year. I mean, if the Broncos had looked completely horrendous, then yeah, I think there'd be time to worry. But this game literally does not matter, and they didn't even look absolutely horrible. I mean, the O-line looked horrible, I'll say that, but they just need time to gel. And Garrett Bowles was obviously looking really bad, but he is coming off of a leg injury, and he hasn't played in over almost a year now. Ben Powers is new, and Mike McGlinchey, the star right tackle they signed from the 49ers, did not play either, so they obviously didn't have all their own linemen. They were coming back. They still need time to gel, and honestly, I don't expect the O-line to be absolutely top-notch, top 10 NFL O-line because they have Russell Wilson at quarterback, and Wilson, as spectacular as he is, he takes a lot of sacks. It's just going to happen. Like, if your Russ is on your team, you're going to expect the O-line to not play nearly as well just because Russ takes so long in the pocket to deliver strikes. And that's just going to happen. Now, obviously, I would like the O-line to play better. However, you know what? The O-line was the most hyped up signing this offseason with the Mike McGlinchey and the Ben Powers and Garrett Bowles coming back. And so I'm honestly not too and as we all know, hype can get to people's heads sometimes. It can cause them to, just be up in the sky and think of themselves too highly, like the Broncos did the entirety of last season, so when it comes crashing down, they're shocked and don't know what to do. I'm glad the O-line has served a bit of humble pie this week. Just a little bit. So that they realize, oh shoot, we got to put in the work to actually protect our quarterback, to play well. Beyond that, though, I was a little happy with the way the Russell Wilson played. Like, if Russ had come out here and absolutely crapped the bed, oh no, then I'd be worried. But Russ played well, all things considered. He was obviously not Seattle Seahawks for us from 2012 to 2020. He was more late Seattle, late Denver last season. 100 yards and 15 and 20 minutes of play, a touchdown, 103 quarterback rating, 61% completion percentage. Nothing awful, nothing great. But that's with an O-line that, was playing like absolute crap. With Sean Payton as his new head coach in a system he's trying to learn. And honestly, with Sean Payton, I was kind of happy to see that the Broncos receivers, when they got the ball, didn't simply fall over or gain no yards after catch. They were actually moving the sticks like 20-yard completions, moving the chains, getting it and running instead of just being tackled immediately. And honestly, the timing I thought was a lot better from Russ. Like his touchdown pass to Judy, pressure in his face. Oh, got to get it out quick. Judy's obviously wide open because it's against the third stringer. But that was good. And there were some excellent play calls. It was a good screen pass early in the game. I'm happy with the progress. And honestly, this is coming from someone who's cautiously optimistic about the Broncos potentially making the playoffs. Obviously, I'd love to see it. But I'm also not going to get my hopes up because they let me down for the last 7 years. So, if they don't make the playoffs again, well, shoot. I guess it's not too surprising. But as long as they make progress this year, as long as they can have a winning record and show that Peyton and Wilson are building towards something, then I'll be happy. Then that's all I need. Obviously, I love the playoffs. I love the number 1 seed in a Super Bowl. Those aren't realistic expectations. And you know what? If the NFL and the Cardinals and everybody else, all the other fan bases, want to crap on the Broncos because they lost a preseason game, exit right ahead. Be my guest. Just fine. Okay. Let us become the underdogs. Certainly what we weren't last season when we were hyping ourselves up. If you want us, let us be the underdogs this season for when, and have us steal a few victories here and there because of it. Great. Because guess what? The Broncos, if they lose maybe 2 preseason games this year, people are like, oh, Broncos look terrible. And then the team gets some early teams like the Washington Commanders and the Las Vegas Raiders and the Chicago Bears in the first 4 weeks. And if the Broncos can win those 3 games and be 3-1 after heading into the Jets game, it would be a pleasant surprise versus, oh baby, we're going to the Super Bowl this year, we lost to Seattle. Oh crap, our coach isn't it. Fine. I'm honestly happy to be the underdogs as a franchise, as a team. I'll take it. Because you know what? This team certainly hasn't earned the moniker of being a top threat in the AFC. And I think Denver can really use this motivation, this humility, this humbling to work harder, because I believe Sean Payton is a guy who can realize, yeah, we got faults and we got to work on them. Unlike Nathaniel Hackett, who tries to calm everything down, or Vic Fangio, who's so stubborn he can't see past his own glasses, except to make the meatballs. I am just fine with it. You know what? If this preseason loss may help us, it really may help us. And one more thing, we're not going to the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say that right now. Highly unlikely. The odds are just not in our favor. But teams that do well in preseason, how well do they honestly do in the regular season? I mean, they're obviously, it's a case-by-case basis, but I mean, both the Browns and Lions in the seasons they went winless won all of their preseason games. The Broncos in 2017 with Vance Joseph won all four of their preseason games and looked dominant in every single one. What happened to them? They got obliterated in the regular season. Heck, the Patriots, when they won in the Super Bowl in 2016, they won one preseason game, I remember. And obviously, they lost Tom Brady for the first 4 games and still managed to win the Super Bowl in the end of the year. No, the Broncos aren't going to win the Super Bowl. But I'm just saying, preseason record does not matter. just go ahead, hate on the Broncos. I'm just glad we can finally see what's wrong with our team and really work to improve it. And I think overall, this will help the Broncos down the line. Getting to serve some humble pie early, figuring out what the team is, so we can fix it before the real games that actually matter start. Let me know if you're concerned about the Denver Broncos in the comments below, or if you're hyped as all get out. I really do want to know. Moving on. Bryson DeChambeau shot a 58 on Sunday in Live Golf to win his first tournament since 2021. Obviously, this is last Sunday, but holy cow. A 58. This is unbelievable. Like, just quite frankly, amazing. I was watching it. I was hoping Bryson would win. It was an early start, so obviously I slept in till 10:30, and woke up around hole 7 when Bryson made his first bogey, but he had a 4-shot lead at that point. And honestly, I was like, what? He's had how many birdies in a row? Or how many birdies to start? 6 out of 7? Dang. It was really, truly quite a round. I mean, when you were watching it, there was murmurs that he could shoot a 54, which in Live Golf would get him $54 million. There was a chance he'd break 59. It got a little sketchy down the stretch, but the entire time I was watching, I'm like, why is no one talking about a 57? Like, Bryson had 3 holes left. He would have had to shoot 3 under on the final 3 holes to shoot 57. He was, on pace for a 60 if he made par from there. And everyone's talking about, ooh, can he shoot 59? I'm like, I think he can shoot 57. He had a par 5 on the 17th and a par 3 to finish. And sadly, he parred the par 4 16th, but he made birdie on 17 to practically secure a 59. And I thought, well, maybe he'll just shoot a 59. 57's out the window, sadly. Maybe he'll shoot a 59. And it really looked like that. On the 18th green, we stuck it to 40 feet, missed the ridge that would have led up to the upper tier of the green, just by a yard. And he did something I didn't even expect. He had a 40-footer, not an easy putt, something you kind of lag up there to maybe 2 or 3 feet, a foot if you're good. And, and then par and shoot a 59, everyone goes crazy. But no, the man who was playing out of his mind, my man who I didn't even know was really that much of a low scorer, who could really go after a 58, that kind of round. I thought he would be more of a 7-under type of guy at his best. He lines up his 40-footer. He hits it on the line perfectly. I'm like, oh, that's looking really good. That's going to get close, tap in easy. And then it hits the pin and drops, and he jumps up in the air a good foot, the highest I've ever seen a white man jump since Nikola Jokic. And the crowd went nuts, and he had just dropped a 58. And it was unbelievable. The call by Arlo White in the booth was fantastic. And all this is to say, Bryson is back. He had been gone for 2 years since that 2021. Well, I'd say since the 2021 U.S. Open, about 63 holes in, right before his epic meltdown on the final 9, where he shot a 44, 8 over, back in the 2021 U.S. Open. I think that's when the real Bryson disappeared, and there was still some remnants of him, like he showed up at the Ryder Cup. But yeah, kind of showed up at the BMW Championship that year. But after that, he kind of fell off the map, only making a rare appearance at the 2022 Open. And he would recognize it. I mean, he hit rock bottom, I think, this past season when he missed the cut at the Masters. And he started working hard. He dropped about the 40 pounds he gained over the previous 2 years. He looked slim. He showed up at the PGA Championship and finished 4th, and slowly from there, made under par round after under par round after under par round, coming close in Andalusia, Spain, to potentially win, but Taylor Gooch still on the last hole. And then finally, this past week at the Greenbrier, Bryson finally, after putting all the work into his iron game, after getting a new driver, showed up again and shot a 58. And oh my gosh, it was so cool. Put him on the Ryder Cup team. Just gonna say it right now. Bryson deserves to be on the Ryder Cup team. He's been playing so out of his mind this year. Before this previous tournament at Trump Bedminster, Bryson had shot 20 under par rounds in Live Golf, which is fantastic. Since Crooked Cat, he had under par rounds. He's been playing great. He'd be a fine addition to the team. Great match play player. Good match play player. As long as he's not playing for money against Phil Mickelson. That wouldn't be good. And I don't care what anyone says. That Live Golf win meant a lot to him. He's coming in hot. Put him on the team. He and Scotty were a near unstoppable duo that took the Spanish Armada to even tie last Ryder Cup with Sergio and John Rahm, who were the only real contributors to that Ryder Cup team for the Europeans. I mean, how could you not have Bryson and, Bryson out there? You can't honestly tell me you're going to put a guy like Sam Burns in there, who, no offense to Sam Burns, I like Sam Burns, but he's not a Ryder Cup player. You can't tell me you're going to pick a guy like Justin Thomas, who has been playing terribly this season, and put him in there. Like, I don't care that he won the PGA Championship in 2022. Phil Mickelson won in 2021, and he didn't get picked for the Ryder Cup. Justin Thomas does not deserve to be there just because he won the PGA Championship. And I know he's a great playing partner of Jordan Spieth, but his game has been in shambles. And if you really want a good playing partner for Spieth, go get Patrick Reed. Those two are unstoppable. Bryson played so well in the last Ryder Cup. He's coming in hot to this one. If I'm Zach Johnson, I'm making the call. Now, who you have to kick out of there? Probably Sam Burns and maybe Keegan Bradley, because obviously you're going to have Ricky in there. I wouldn't cut Colin Morikawa. Annoyingly, Max Homa is currently locked. I think he could drop out of it, but he's currently in 6th place, which would be an automatic lock for the Ryder Cup. And obviously I wouldn't want Max Homa on my team. I don't really trust him, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But if that's me, if I'm Zach Johnson, pick Bryson. Mostly for the entertainment value, honestly, just because hit bombs down in Italy. And yeah, that's what I think. So it came out recently in a book written by some gambler, I can't remember his name, that Phil Mickelson, Live Golf star, 6-time major winner, had apparently placed over $1 billion, let me say that again, on sports bets, on golf bets, on MLB, whatever. And this is such a crazy figure, so unbelievable, like just $1 billion in sports bets. Holy cow. And apparently he's lost $100 million of that $1 billion he's bet, so, he's won what? $450 million out of that. Lost $550 million. Yeah. It's not bad, I guess. It's not the worst time. If you're going to bet that much, yeah, you're probably going to lose. But I mean, it could be worse. It could have lost like $300 million. Anyways, that is an insane amount. And in this man's book where he said that Phil Mickelson bet this much, he also said that Phil Mickelson tried to bet on the 2012 Ryder Cup with him, like saying, "Hey, I'll bet you $400,000 the U.S. Ryder Cup team wins." And obviously, Phil Mickelson vehemently denies this, and honestly, I can see it. No self-respecting man would ever bet on the USA back in the early 2010s, late 2000s, to win a Ryder Cup against Europe. Really? Who thought that was actually going to happen? Of course, Phil Mickelson wouldn't do that. But instead of leaving this story alone and letting it be just against Phil, making him the bad guy, it of course had to reach the ears of Rory McIlroy. And when asked about it at the FedEx St. Jude press conferences before the tournament started, he could have said something clever like, well, if he'd been on Team Europe, he probably wouldn't have lost $100 million in bets. Which would have been funny, could have gotten a good chuckle, would have been slightly clever, and painful for me, but that's because I'm an American. But it would have been true because, you know what, the European Ryder Cup team at the time dominated. And, yeah, that would have been good. But this is Rory McIlroy we're speaking of. And obviously, you can't go for that slightly above average joke. He has to go for the lowest hanging fruit, a PGA Tour tournament of comebacks, as it were, instead of the majors in terms of jokes, like he tends to do, or has tended to do for the past 10 years. He decided to say this. Well, he can place bets now on the Ryder Cup now, since he won't be a part of it. Yeah, that was about my reaction. Like, really, man? I mean, that's the best you can come up with? And obviously, I'm sure this got all the Rory stands to go, looking funny. Phil Mickelson, can't make the Ryder Cup. And you know what, fine, I'll congratulate you, Rory. Good job. Must have taken a lot of courage to call out a 53-year-old who wasn't going to make the Ryder Cup anyways. Like, these comments like these that I just make it hard for me to like Rory. Of course Phil's not going to make the Ryder Cup. He's 53 years old. If you're picking Phil Mickelson at 53 to be on your Ryder Cup team, unless there's wagers on the line, I don't think that's a good idea. So, yeah. And you know what? It almost came back to bite Rory in the butt, because what if this comment spurred on Phil Mickelson to have the tournament he had in the Trump Bedminster where he almost won? Like, literally, he's 4 yards away. He is a club up away from hitting the green on number 7 where he put 2 balls in the water. If he hits that green, he'll probably, I don't know, at least stick it to 10 feet and maybe make the putt and have all the momentum going against Cameron Smith. If he had won that, then there would have been a Ryder Cup discussion. Rory, you keep just making stuff that should be left unsaid, left dead, and turning it into something. Like back when you said Liv was dead after the Scary MFers quote from Phil Mickelson was leaked. You said Liv's dead, and then I guess, I don't know, maybe that spurred on the Saudis to push ahead with Liv and sign all these players, and look, Liv's still around. It's when he makes comments like these, when he calls out Liv players for taking the money. It's when he says, no, I don't hate where the money's coming from, I just hate Liv. It's comments like these. It's supporting a PGA Tour commissioner who has blown this situation harder than you could possibly imagine that make me like, you know, Rory, it's hard for me to like you when you keep doing stuff like this. I mean, goodness, you should be plenty likable. You got a great swing. You've won a lot of tournaments. You kind of seem like a nice guy for the most part, but then you do stuff like this, and I just can't. I can't. Like, I get it, you're bitter and angry at Phil, you don't like him, then just say so. You don't have to keep taking these cheap shots that ruin your image and don't help you whatsoever. Golly, focus more on your game and maybe you'd win majors like Phil has done the last 10 years. Instead of focusing on these lame quotes. That's just all I'm going to say on this topic for right now. Jeez. Let me know what you think in the comments below about Rory calling out Phil this way and Phil's gambling habits. I just can't believe this. Like, honestly, what the heck, man? You can't come up with something a little bit better than that? Oy. Whatever. Matters little. Jordan Love looked all right. There's some more preseason. Jordan Love played against the Cincinnati Bengals. He went 7 for 10 for about 56 yards, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Nothing spectacular, nothing special, but you know what? I liked what I saw. He was making good decisions. He had one overthrow, which he really needs to work on. But overall, I thought Jordan Love played well. Will Levis, I thought, played fairly decently for the Tennessee Titans, although late in the game, he did have a bad pick, but I mean, it was on. He was going against, can't remember what team it was, but he was trying to come back. It was a last-minute touchdown drive, and the previous play, his receiver had dropped a wide-open touchdown. So, I don't really fault him too much for throwing the interception there. It just happens when it's late in the game. He does need to work on his decision-making. I thought it was a little bit suspect, but he does have a really nice release. He's got some mobility and size. I thought he looked good there. Other quarterbacks that have played well. Baker Mayfield. Listen, this might be a bit delusional. Probably is. But I kind of like the Bucs this year with Baker. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping it might work out. You never know. They stuck with 45-year-old Tom Brady last season. I'm just saying, you never know with Baker. Everyone's doubting him. Could be a playoff team this year. Just keep an eye on the Bucs and Baker, let me tell you. Well, that's about all for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I did, honestly. I kind of enjoyed this episode myself. I thank you very much for watching. It's been a fun time. Please hit the subscribe button if you like my content and want to see more. Hit that bell so you know when my content is uploaded. Have a wonderful day. Share this with your friends and family. And, yeah, I'll see you later. Goodbye.